All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thought I'd shoot a quick video, recap my weekend at the Monster Factory, and hit on a couple things that have been going on in the arm wrestling world. So we'll go through it. So this weekend, StormChellino and I were able to make the trip down to Arkansas for Arkansas State. We stayed at Monster Michael Todd's house and at the Monster Factory. Absolute phenomenal time, great fellowship, great training sessions. So we came right when we got down there, pretty much when we got landed. We started into a workout. I think we did 6 lifts to max to failure, true PR, arm wrestling specific stuff. So look for that video to drop on Monster Michael Todd's YouTube channel. Pretty interesting. It was Michael, myself, Corey, and Storm testing out those arm wrestling specific lifts. Pretty interesting. It was kind of in the same format that we saw with Artem Warzov and Schoolboy. So there'll probably be numbers coming out. I don't even exactly know the numbers I personally hit. I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants and seeing how I would do. But you'll get to see the results coming out here shortly. We also then, the last day that we were there, we finished up with a shoulder workout. We did a interesting shrug workout, which is, it's not interesting to me. I've been doing it forever. Basically a strip set along with a circuit. So Michael and I kind of melded some of our specific shoulder workout or style. We kind of put it together and mash it all up. So there should be a video coming out for that as well. Also was blessed to be able to have the opportunity to go meet a bunch of great Southern pullers at Arkansas State. Tournament's been running forever. There was a lot of guys that competed in the Aries 60, Super 64 and did very well. I think a couple of them that won it. So a lot of guys ranked highly on the Aries system. So got to meet a bunch of those dudes, young studs, some new, young, impressive arm wrestlers in all the weight classes. I think some of you guys might be familiar with Jeremy Parker. He's got some videos that have gone pretty viral on TikTok and stuff, training with Michael Todd. The kid's a stud. So he wound up, I think some of you guys might see it. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and look it up on Jeremy's Facebook or TikTok. But he had an absolute war with Storm. It was great. Storm's on the comeback trail right now. So he pulled 242s and supers. And he was in the finals. It already solidified the finals in 242, and then got in a war in supers with Jeremy Parker. Absolute burner of a match. Check that out. I'm not going to tell you how that turned out, but it was a burner and pretty much ruined the tournament for for both of those guys moving forward. But like an epic match. Storm then wound up finding a way to gut out the 242 win in the finals. So that went very interesting. It went back and forth with the gentleman that Troy Brown that he had flashed in the 242s in the first class. Then it was a war in the finals. So you got to love how the tournament and the bracket plays out and forces you to actually arm wrestle when you're depleted. I think it was a great experience for Storm coming back and getting like drugged through through the mud in that tournament, and then having to find a way to eke out that win. So that finals with Troy Brown is really interesting as well. So I might see if I can't get Storm to go ahead and post some of those too. He's just launching his YouTube channel, so go check him out. It's just under his name, StormChellino. So some of those matches will probably be coming out on his YouTube as well. Then afterwards, obviously got the after pull with all those guys. The bad part was like, Jeremy, who was one of the guys I wanted to pull with, he was destroyed. No after pulling for him. But I got to pull with a bunch of those dudes, the supers down there. Great guys, man. Everybody was super nice. And guys from the Northeast, man, these guys from down south are way nicer than us. We need to up our game as far as like hospitality and general niceness and politeness. So they're awesome. Arkansas, thank you for having us down. Greatly appreciated. One of the other things we did, we spent a good amount of time at Michael Todd's just fellowshipping and chopping things up. Now, we all know the drama and the stuff that was going on with East versus West. So a lot of people were questioning where the West stands on a lot of this. And I think everybody has their own opinions. But Michael, Pablo, myself, and among others have been really trying to push for meeting in a common ground and keeping the unity. We don't want, and I've stated before, we don't want to have a league that's divided. And I speak for the three of us for sure, don't want to compete in a league where the Europeans aren't there. They mark important goals for us. It's very important for me personally to be able to get to compete with the best, or at least attempt to. And so it's very important to have Europeans involved. I've also built good relationships with a lot of these guys. I really love learning the cultures, learning the people, even with the language barriers, getting to know these guys, bridging gaps. So that's a huge part of what made East versus West special for me. So we got on the phone with Robert, spoke for probably about 45 minutes, group call with Pablo, Michael, and myself. And the ultimate goal there was to try and help. So we're mainly asking Robert, like, what can we do to help? How can we help mend this? Now, obviously, there's some agreements being worked out with Engen. We're all trying to keep the band together. And that means the Europeans and Engen and the core team. So we shared some ideas with that, got some clarity on things moving forward. Obviously, next up is the Brian Shaw Classic. So we're looking to try and help unify everybody. So, hoping that everything comes together with Engen and the core team and the Europeans. Really want those guys involved. It's really important to us. So we're gonna help in any way that comes up to try and keep everyone together. So I'm still cautiously optimistic about the future. Very interested to see what the next European event will hold. If that's going to be Switzerland or if there will be one before that. So I guess we're just going to have to stay tuned. But the good news out of that is there was some good open lines of communication, some very direct points made, and perspectives shared. So we're going to try and keep that communication open. I see East versus West. I've always felt like we were doing it as a team. And we expressed that we want to continue that. We're all part of this in some capacity, and we want to be able to do our part to push the league forward and keep everyone together. So moving on, we got some matches announced at the Shaw Classic. We got Devin versus Cordete, both arms. The left arm, obviously, I think is going to be the one that everyone's interested in, with the mistakes in reffing and the way the match ended. Don't believe Devin, wants any credit for that win. That's a tough one. It's tough for both guys. I think both guys probably feel like they were robbed, and that's not a dig on the referee. Mistakes happen, But the other piece is, I'm just amazed how it wasn't caught. I didn't get to watch that match live because I was prepping for mine right after, but it's amazing to me that no corners, nobody picked up on it in the moment. It was like 2 days later. So, I mean, obviously it's got to be an honest mistake if nobody was really picking up. I heard there were people in the comments, but the message didn't get back until it was too late. But I didn't catch wind of it until like the next day or the day after. So even if I won that match that way, I wouldn't be happy, and I know Devin's not. So to me, that's low-hanging fruit. Like, we need to see that rematch. I'm very interested in that. The right arm, not quite as interested in that. Could wind up being a great match. We can't rule Alex out. But obviously a lot of us were invested in the Vitali match. Doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. I don't know. We'll see. But still another. I mean, you got Devin on the card, pulling two matches. It's going to be interesting to see how they organize that, like which arm goes first, and how that could have an effect on the opposite arm. I would hope that they would run the left arm first while both guys are fresh and spirits are high, but I guess we'll have to see that. The big one that was announced is the Hutchings versus Chaffy match. Personally, not a big fan of the West versus West matches, but in this scenario, I think it's probably one of the best matches that we can offer. I find it very interesting because I know Todd and Dave have trained, and Dave has always seemed to have more of that horsepower, but not always. I know they've had matches prior in WAL, in overalls and things like that. So we have some stuff to dig in on and see, who do we think is going to win. Interesting caveat here is the fact that Dave is now coming down to 115. This will be the first that we see him at that weight. I don't know how that's going to affect. I believe that he has the body type to be able to come down to 115 and not lose much, but we don't know right now. And part of that makes me kind of think, man, like Hutchings is just on such a tear. I feel like this guy has not even like peaked yet. So very interesting match. It's gonna be very interesting stylistically because Dave is, he's been more of an outside puller, but like a whole hand top roller. So I'm not sure that Todd is going to even have the opportunity to do his Todd roll against Dave. And I'll be very interested to see if Dave's willing to go wrist to wrist, kind of how he used to in the past and meet Todd in the middle. But this is a very interesting match. I kind of lead towards Todd right now, but I wouldn't be surprised either way. Just another thing to touch on, I know I saw some comments. I guess I must have done an interview a couple weeks ago, a couple weeks back, and I think I might have confused some people. I think kind of got my words minced a little bit, maybe. But I think I got some comments asking if I was retiring from arm wrestling. No, I'm not retiring from arm wrestling. I'm nowhere near what I believe to be my peak or my prime. So I'm going to continue arm wrestling until probably past my prime, to be honest. With it being such an age-forgiving sport, I'm going to be here for a while. That said, I think the confusion was I was mentioning coaching. So yes, people ask, like, are you going to have a match at the Brian Shaw Classic? No, not going to, because that's the first couple weeks of arm wrestling season. I was offered a match, but not arm wrestling season, football season. So I was offered a match, but I can't do it. This year is another tough year for me. I'll be coaching varsity and taking a big role in my son's youth program. I'll be coaching at his level as well as like a board level position on that. So that's going to take all of my time. I do not intend on, maybe take a match at the tail end of the season. We'll see, depending on how things go. But I'm hoping to not arm wrestle until that November, December time range. Got to give all of my emotional energy to football during that time. And I think what the confusion was is I mentioned that I'm going to be backing off after this year from coaching varsity football. This will be my 20th year coaching at the varsity high school level, and it's very taxing. And it's not just physical energy, but it's emotional energy and time commitment. So my days are very, very hectic during football season. They end late, and it's very tough for me to juggle, coaching 2 football programs and then maintaining a high level of intense training in order to peak for an arm wrestling match, as well as, the mental stress that comes along with, varsity competition on Friday, youth competition on Sunday, and then looming competition on arm wrestling. So next year I will be focusing all of my football energies on our youth program. So I'm looking forward to that. My son's only gonna, he's only got so many years in this, and I feel compelled to give him as much as I possibly can. A lot of you guys have gotten to meet Lincoln at tournaments and at practices and things like that. And if you know me and you know him, he's my primary focus and my primary job. So arm wrestling will continue on. Football season just becomes a pseudo downtime or all season for me for arm wrestling. But I just want to thank everybody for tuning in, man, and keeping the positive energy during these tumultuous times in arm wrestling. Feel free to drop me any comments if there's anything that you guys want discussed that I might be missing. If you're interested on my take on anything, open to comments, questions. So again, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.